You know the most dangerous place to hide business logic in your code? It's in your database. I've spent over 2 decades cleaning up code bases where critical business rules lived in stored procedures, and it's a nightmare on every single line. So here's the thing that nobody's talking about, and this may be a controversial opinion, so I love to hear your thoughts on this. When your logic is buried in the database, you lose version control, you lose your deployment pipeline, and you lose your mind trying to debug production issues. The Qualcomm CEO said, quote, "I've seen it. It is incredible about Android, about a lot of these things. And I'm telling you that like one of the best ways to lose your mind is to hide these things in stored procedures, and it's going to destroy a lot of the development that you're working on." Now let's dive into this topic today because this is going to be kind of an interesting one, so hang on with me today. All right, so here's my controversial take. Stored procedures and views are no place in modern application development. I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, especially some old school DBAs, but stick with me. I'm going to walk you through exactly why this rule has saved countless hours and prevented catastrophic bugs in every project that I've led. Now, when you put your business logic in stored procedures, you're creating a hidden layer of complexity that most of your teams can't see or maintain. Your application becomes incomplete. Half your business rules are in C# or Python. The other half are buried in SQL Server procedures. Debugging becomes a nightmare because your IDE can't step through database code the same way it does through application code. New developers joining your team have to learn two places to look for logic instead of one consistent code base. So business rules scattered across application code and database procedures means nobody understands the complete pictures. So I've watched senior developers waste days trying to track down bugs that existed in stored procedures they didn't even know were being called. Now, your Git repository also shows your application code history, but stored procedures live outside that version control. Now, I hear people say all the time, yeah, but we copy ours into the Git repo. Yeah, until somebody doesn't. When a stored procedure changes, there's no pull request, there's no code review, no approval process before it hits production. Rolling back a bad deployment becomes a gruesome guessing game. Which version of which stored procedure was running when? Database migration tools exist, but developers routinely bypass them and modify procedures directly in production databases. The paper trail you have for every line of application code simply doesn't exist for database logic. So I've seen production outages caused by stored procedures changes that nobody could trace back to who made them or when. Now, as always, make sure to drop a comment down below because I love to hear from you guys. It's the best compliment you can give me. Now, the other thing too is you can't unit test a stored procedure, right? Unit testing stored procedure requires spinning up actual database connections, which is slow and fragile. Your test suite should run in milliseconds, but database tests take seconds or minutes, which is going to be killer for developer time. So application code deploys through your CI/CD pipeline with automated testing and zero downtime blue-green deployments. Database schema changes require coordination, downtime windows, and careful migration scripts to avoid data loss. When business logic lives in stored procedures, every logic change becomes a database deployment that needs downtime. Your deployment frequency drops from multiple times per day to once per week because database changes are risky and slow and cause downtimes. Rolling forward with application code is super easy. Rolling back database changes can corrupt data if you're not careful. So teams end up avoiding necessary logic changes because the deployment cost is too high, and this becomes technical debt that accumulates really quickly. Now, when a bug happens in production, your error logs point to an application method that calls a stored procedure. You need a database access to see what stored procedure actually does, and many developers don't have access to production databases. So stored procedures often call another stored procedure, creating chains of dependencies that nobody can document. There's no stack trace through your database calls, so figuring out the execution path. Now, a lot of you guys ask, what do you guys do? At Starter Pack, we love to follow the controller, service, then repository layer. And in our repository layer, we use Dapper so that our SQL query are in the code. Now, everyone's like, oh, that means you're using inline SQL. No, we're not. We're using parameterized SQL that is very safe against SQL injection and against all other types of injections. Modern ORMs and query builders generate efficient SQL that perform just as well as handwritten stored procedures. And the best part is you can just copy it right out and test the query and get it to optimal performance. Add indexes to your database and do things that you need to do to optimize things. If it's performing badly, maybe you need to normalize your tables. There's a ton of things that you can do, but doing this allows you to keep all of the code in your repository where it belongs. It allows it to be deployed via CI/CD, allows you great tools to be able to use like Dapper, and allows you to keep clean layers on your different concerns, right? Controller should be about handling the HTTP requests. The service should be where your business logic lives so you know to go look for that custom business logic. Your repository layer is about retrieving and setting data. Those are the layers, and when you work to path of independent concerns, your code can stay cleaner. These simple rules help us break down, and they work on all technologies and all platforms. Now, your team diligently creates different migrations and flyaway scripts for table schema changes, but stored procedures and views, somebody has to manually update these, and that's why you've got to stay away from them. So we really like to use Dapper with parameterized queries, and this solves the problem. The security argument for stored procedures is they prevent SQL injections, but guess what? Parameterized queries in your application code provide the exact same SQL injection protection. Tools like Dapper make it trivially easy to write safe, performant database queries without stored procedures. And as long as you're using parameters and not concatenating user input into SQL strings, you're protected. Stored procedures don't magically make your application more secure either. Poor coding practices can still make it just as insecure. Modern development frameworks make SQL injection nearly impossible if you follow the basic best practices. Now, new developers need weeks to learn your application code base. Adding stored procedures doubles that ramp-up time. Not every developer is comfortable writing complex SQL, so that's where you can also break down to those independent concerns. So I have a lot of my juniors work on the controllers or the services, where a lot of my more senior folks who know the database and the data layer work in the repo layer. When business logic lives in stored procedures, you need developers who are expert on both application code and database programming. That specialized skill set is even harder to hire for and expensive when you find it. Now, this is just some of the examples of how we lay down rules at Starter Pack that we follow with some very consistent patterns so that we can help companies build quality software that scales with business as well as with personnel. Because we all know there's three parts to building software. There's the technology, the people, and the process, right? Those are the three parts of building software. And so as you know, in this kind of a conversation, we're learning on all three of these. So this is one example of how Starter Pack is really good to help your company build to maximum efficiency. So if you're interested, check out starterpack.com. Now, it starts innocently. One stored procedure to handle a complex report query that seems reasonable. 6 months later, you have 200 stored procedures and nobody remembers what half of them do or if they're still being called. Dependencies between stored procedures create a tangled web where changing one breaks three others unexpectedly. Your database becomes this scary black box that everyone's afraid to touch. So after 25 years in tech history, I'm telling you, the best path is to prevent sprawl and don't ever touch stored procedures or views. Now, database views can create also hidden coupling, right? Views seem harmless. They're just saved queries, right? But that's wrong. Your application code starts depending on views, but your views reference specific table structures and columns. So you make a change to your table and suddenly views break that you didn't think about. So when you need to refactor your database schema, those views also break. Views can't be unit tested independently, and they make your integration tests depend on exact database state. So every view you add is another hidden dependency that constrains your ability to evolve your database and your schema. So all your business logic should live in your application code where it can be version controlled, tested, and reviewed. Use an ROM or micro ROM like Dapper to write clean, safe database queries with proper parameterization. Database migration should only handle schema changes, table columns, indexes, foreign keys. Your database should be dumb storage that your smart application layer orchestrates. This approach gives you faster deployments, better testability, clearer code ownership, and happier developers. The initial discipline required to avoid stored procedures pays dividends for years through maintainability and team velocity. Now, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. You guys are all going to shout at me and tell me but I'm wrong, especially all you old crusty database DBAs. Like, come at me because I'm ready. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love to have a great discussion as long as we're not calling each other names, which I won't call you a name. You're welcome to tell me I'm a pointy hair guy. Like, I know a lot of you guys like to make fun of my hair, but that's okay. Go ahead. Leave me a comment. Let me know. Reach out. We'd love to help. Check out starterpack.com if we can help your company to build some custom software, and here's some great information about our services.
Hi, I'm Spencer, a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and 25 years in software development, I've transformed technology teams and products for businesses just like yours. As your fractional CTO, you get the strategic guidance of a seasoned technology executive without the full-time commitment. Perfect for companies ready to leverage cutting-edge technology without expanding headcount. My team at Startup Hack has already built advanced AI agents for small and medium businesses, automating complex workflows and delivering advanced ROI to human workflows. We specialize in creating custom software that connects your systems into a single coherent technology ecosystem. Our development approach focuses on tangible business outcomes. For one client, we developed AI-powered workflows that cut days off of human processes. For another company, by connecting multiple systems, we reduced processing time to increase their ROI by over 75%. We don't just write code, we architect solutions that scale. Whether you need cloud system architecture, data integration between legacy systems, or custom AI agents that automate your unique business processes, my team delivers results that exceed your expectations. Having led technology for a lot of companies and launched 7 successful brands of my own, I bring battle-tested expertise to your business challenges. Our specialty is turning technological complexity into business advantage. So if you're ready to harness the power of AI and custom software to drive your business forward, let's connect. Together, we'll build technology that doesn't just solve today's problems, it positions you for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology leadership, decades of experience, AI powered. Reach out today and we can help you. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer.